what are the top 5 built-in modules commonly used in Node projects? Now there are many built-in modules in Node, but the most famous and most used modules are these: FS module, Path module, OS module, Events, and HTTP modules. I will quickly cover the role and the importance of these modules in the upcoming questions. Explain the role of the FS module. Name some functions of it. This is one of the most important built-in modules in Node. In short, it is used for managing files. Let's quickly see the code example. First, import the FS module by using the require function like this. Then you can use the read file function of the FS module to read the contents of a file asynchronously. Here the first parameter is the name of the file from which we are reading. The second parameter is the format of the file, and the third parameter is this callback function in which we are passing two parameters, the error and the data. While reading from this fx.txt file, if there is any error we got, then we are just returning black, okay? And if there is no error, then we are reading all the content of this fx.txt file in this variable data and printing content here in the console. So I'm printing, this is my logic, and as per the application requirement, the logic can be different, okay? You can do anything with this data which we are getting from the file. Now, similar to this, we have another important function of the FS module called the write file function. Here the first parameter is the blank or empty file name. This is blank, where we will write the content, okay? This is write function. Then second parameter is the content source, and the third parameter is some same callback function to handle if there is any errors or any other scenario, okay? So that's it. Finally, the definition of FS module is: FS module in Node provide a set of methods for interacting with the file system. Okay, great. Now here are 7 main functions of FS module. Read and write, you already know. Append file, used to append the new data with the existing data of a file. Then unlink function is used to delete the specified file. Then a redirect function is used to read the content of a directory. Sorry, not redirect, it's read directory, dir. Then mkdir method is used to create a new directory, or you can say folder. Then rmdir method is used to remove a specified folder directory. Great, that is the answer to this question. You do not have to remember the names of all these methods, but the more you know about something, the better you can explain it, right? Explain the role of the path module. Name some functions of it. Let's start with the definition. The path module provides utilities for joining, resolving, parsing, formatting, normalizing, and manipulating paths, okay? Or you can say URLs. For example, here first we can import the path module, and then here is the first method of the path module, which is join method. Very simple. You can see this is used to join folders names and file names, and it's creating a full path, right? Very simple. Now second method of path module is very important. This is parse method, which is used for parsing, okay? Now listen carefully. Parsing means whatever string you pass here as a parameter, our parse method will convert that string into an object, and that object I am printing here. See, this object will always have these properties: root name, directory or folder name, base name, file extension name, and file name. These are properties of the object. So what happened? Basically, now your path, string path, is broken down into several parts, and therefore now it is very easy to understand and reuse these broken parts, right? and that is the purpose of this parse method. Because now you can perform separate operations on these separate object properties as per your application requirement. Okay, great. So it is one of the most important function of the path module. Other than that, I have mentioned here 5 more functions of path module, and what they do that I already written here in the comments in very simple words. You can just pause the screen and read it once, or you can later also download the book to revise it. Explain the role of the OS module. Name some functions of it. The answer is OS module in Node.js projects provide a set of methods for interacting with the operating system. Very simple. For that, we will first import the OS module like this. Then we can use the type method of the OS module, basically which will provide the type of the operating system on which your Node application is running. Then you can get the user information of the operating system by using this user info method of the OS module. Okay, so like this will be the output then. So also you can get the memory information of operating system in bytes using the total memory method, which provides the total memory, and the free memory method, which will provide the memory that is available in your operating system. Okay, now you might ask why we need this operating system information in our Node project. Okay, so basically sometimes we deploy Node projects on Windows, sometimes on Linux. Okay, so then basically servers can be different, right? On different operating systems. So then we have to perform some functionalities as per the operating systems to make our application cross-platform. That is the main point. Okay, because Node is cross-platform. One application can run on any operating system. So for that, sometimes we need operating system on information as well. Okay, and the same thing I have written here also for later reference. Explain the role of events module, how to handle events in Node. Most of the things about events and this diagram I already explained in previous question, right? You remember? Here are the definition of events: event emitter, event queue, event listener, event loop, and event driven architecture. All I already explained. Now let's see the event module, how to implement in Node. For that, first we will import the event module, and then from that we will get a class event emitter. Okay, now this class has many functions and properties, and to use those functions, first we will create the instance of this event emitter class like this. So this we call instance or object also. Now we can use on function of the myEmitter object to register the event listener. Now you can ask, okay, so what is the meaning of registering the event listener or event handler? Now listen carefully. Registering an event listener means whenever an event of this event name, okay, which is the first parameter, whenever this event name will occur, then the second parameter of this on function, which is a complete function logic, it will execute. Okay, got my point? So that is event listener. So great. So until now this event name still has not occurred, okay, in this code. Okay, so let's create this event. Here see we are raising or emitting the event name by using the emit function of the myEmitter object only. Okay, so what will happen now? The above event listener will listen to it when this event will be emitted. It will be created. Then above event listener will listen to it, match the event name, and run this function logic. Okay, function logic for it. That's it. Clear? Great. Finally, here you will find the output. Now remember, in real application you will not emit events like this. You will get some request from the front-end application, and then internally your Node that request is a event only. Okay, and then your Node application will handle and then assign it to the get post put, okay, which you will do in your code. So, and also remember here, first we have to register the event listener before emitting the events. If you emit the event first and then you will register the event listener code, that means event listener is not yet registered and hence you will get the error. Great. That's the whole story of the event implementation in the code. And here I have written a few points about again about event emitter, which I already explained, and I hope you like this answer. What are event arguments? In the previous question I explained you this code, right? How can we import the events module, get the event emitter class, from them there we created the myEmitter object, then we registered the event listener by using the on method of the myEmitter object. Now when we are emitting the event, then we can also pass some additional information in the form of parameters like these argument 1 and argument 2 along with the event, and that additional information is called event arguments. These arguments will then be received by these parameter of the callback function above, and then we can use them inside the function as per our application requirement. Okay, so in short, if you want to pass some data along with the event, then you can use this event arguments, and the same thing is written here also. What is the difference between a function and an event? Sometimes we get confused by these kind of questions, so let's remove the confusion 100% today. What is a function first? You already know. A function is a reusable piece of code in your application that performs a specific task whenever that function is called. Right? Clear? Whereas events represent an action. Okay. For example, when your Node API application gets some request from a front-end server like this, that means some action happened, and therefore an event will be created in your Node application. Okay, now it may be that you can't see that it may be that that event code is there in some Node library, and so you can't actually see it, and those events actually is handled by your Node background runtime, and you can handle by using them in get post put methods, right? So remember, internally events can call single or multiple function to do the task. So events are like when some event is created, then function will be executed. Functions can also execute. So that is the difference, and that is the short answer to this question. Same is I have written here whatever I have explained in a very short format. What is the role of HTTP module in Node? This is one of the most important modules in Node. Let's first quickly understand the request flow before understanding the role of the HTTP module in a Node application. Suppose you are a user and you open a Node API based website in your browser. So the request will first go to the UI server, which can be in Angular, React, JavaScript, any front-end technology, right? Now for static data like images, styles, or for existing data operation, like if a user will do sorting, filtering on the existing orders or in e-commerce application, for these kind of operation the UI server only will do it by itself and send the response back. But if the user is requesting for additional data or something important, then UI server will send the HTTP request with the API server URL to your Node application API. Now listen carefully. To be able to receive these requests from the front end, your API must be present or hosted at some URL address with the port number on the internet, right? So that hosting will be done by HTTP module. So the HTTP module will create an HTTP server that will be listening to the HTTP request from the UI, and then the same HTTP module will send back the HTTP response to these UI, and then UI will of course send the response to the user browser. Great. I think now you know the role of the HTTP module, right? In upcoming question we will quickly see the implementation also, but and same thing I have written here. The HTTP module can create an HTTP server that listens to server ports and gives a response back to the client. That is the role of HTTP module in Node. What is the role of create server method of the HTTP module? Answer is very simple. The create server method of the HTTP module in Node is used to create an HTTP server. Now let me show you the code quickly, and in 5 steps we will create the HTTP server by using HTTP module. Okay, first step is import the HTTP module. Second step is to create an HTTP server by using this create server method like this. So basically here your server is now created and it is able to handle request and response which it is accepting as the parameter. Now here the second parameter of this create server function is itself a callback function, right? So which is basically the logic when you will receive the request, which this logic will execute after you receive the request and before sending the response back. This in between logic will execute. Got it? Okay, so but right now it's not complete. Your server is still not able to listen to any request. Okay, your server is created but it's not listening. For that you can first choose a port number on which the server will listen the incoming request, and finally by using this listen method of the above server object, now your server is able to listen to the request at this port number. Clear? Great. So finally to test this code, you run this command node create server.js, which is the JavaScript file name only. And when you will open the browser and you will enter this URL localhost with the port number, and you can see the response of your node applications. Why you can see the response here in the browser? Because it is hosted by the HTTP module. And here is this hello world is coming from the second parameter function of the create server method. Great. That's how we can create a server and enable it to listen the HTTP requests from the UI server. That's the simple answer of this question.